BBC Radio Manchester, satellite weather with Diane Oxford.
Well, I don't think this day is ever going to get that much better, but the good news is it probably won't get too much worse. There's a small chance that the cloud cover might bring a tiny spot of drizzle here and there, but on the other hand, it might thin and you might catch a glimpse of blue sky. The winds are very light from the south and your top temperature, 10 Celsius.
Have lunch with Allan Beswick.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Oh, yeah. So Manchester Airport going to dig up that second runway then and put all them houses back and move the newts back? You know them newts that had to go sneaking off over there and sneak them back again now? Well, they're not going to need that second runway. If you'll pardon the expression, airlines are flying out of there. Ho-ho! Never mind. Yeah, well, British Airways have gone. British Midland International, or BMI, or whatever they're called, they've decided they're only going to fly to, like, Liverpool and Oswestry. They're not going anywhere far. Apparently their pilots get nosebleeds if they go a long way. So they're pulling out. It's dead in the water. And the other thing is that they won't be able to afford all them identity cards now, will they? Manchester Airport, it's going to turn into a toy town airport if we're not careful. You know, like Stansted or, heaven forfend, John Lennon Airport. It is. It's going to turn into Toy Town. British Midland Airport. Oh, what's that one? That's it, Leeds Bradford. That's a cracker, that. Or Blackpool Airport, where you have to bring your own Lassie band. We're going to end up like that, the way things are. What's going on at Manchester Airport? What is happening? You know what's happening? Now, you might be surprised at this, but Mr. Beswick gave a little prediction some time ago. It went like this. I hope to God that Manchester Airport doesn't win in its attempts to buy a London airport, because if they do, we'll turn into just some place where you shuttle from. Oh, yeah, they'll deny that. Of course they'll deny it. Of course they'll deny it. But that's the fear. Me, I trust no beggar. 01612, except you, obviously. And you. But definitely not me. No, I don't trust me, not in the least. Never have, never will. Not stupid, you know. 0161228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And the text number is 07786 206 951. And right now, Barack Obama, who until 6 months ago I'd never heard of, Barack Obama is appointing people that we've never heard of to be the heads of his departments in government. And then the heads of his department will will appoint people he's never heard of to government. It's a funny system. But frankly, I'm up to here now with Barack Obama. All right, he's going to be the president, but he's going to have to live in a 3-inch glass box. He's going to be like a terrapin. Barack Obama turned overnight into a terrapin. Everywhere he goes, he has to be behind 3 inches of bulletproof glass. He's going to spend the next 4 years as a terrapin.
Heather Stocks, the best guest, and a no dull people guarantee.
Christopher Biggins, you were crowned king of the jungle.
I was.
Let's talk about the people that you were in with. You can't be mates with all of them.
No, I mean, the biggest person, of course, who was so irritating, Janice Dickinson.
Janice Dickinson.
She was the American model.
Yeah.
Oh, man. You know, constantly. Jade Brown and myself, we planned killing her and burying her. But sadly, there are 70 cameras, so we'd be caught. She was unbelievable. She stole food from people there. I mean, she was obnoxious.
Heather Stott, tomorrow morning from 9
at BBC Radio Manchester.
Oh, Christopher, do come off the fence. 01612282255. If you've something to say today, that's fine. Chris in Marple. Hello, Chris.
Hi, Alan.
What can we do for you?
I don't know if you remember, but you spoke to me on Tuesday about my cousin with Alzheimer's.
I did.
And I said I would get back to you and let you know what happened. Well, you are speaking to a rather nervous lady, because I don't like talking on the radio, but...
Well, you're getting used to it now.
Well, absolutely. I'm going to be asking my friends for autographs soon. The trouble is, none of them listen. No, they do
Steady
listen
now.
to Radio Manchester. No, they do. I got what I wanted at 5:15 on Tuesday. They'd promised they'd assess her in the morning before I'd spoken to you, but I hadn't heard that they were going to give her 24-hour care in her own home or in at home or somewhere. And as I say, at 4:15, I got a message on my mobile to say that there was a little home quite near where I live and where she lives in Marple, where they were going to take her for 1 week. Only 1 week, respite care, but while they will reassess her, and after that 1 week, I'll tell you, I'll do exactly what you told me to do. If she doesn't go somewhere safe or have 24-hour care at home, I will take her to accident emergency and tell them I'm a concerned relative, but I'm not a carer. And it'll break my heart, but I will do. But I don't think I will now, because I think she's properly in the system. If you'd seen the person I went to help pack at about 6 o'clock on Tuesday night, and then the person that my husband and I, he sort of followed on. He got home from work and followed on, and he's got the person we left in this lovely home that looks like a big house. And actually I knew it from years ago because my mum was there, just for a respite.
Yeah.
It was such a different person. She almost, bless her, almost couldn't get rid of us because she just seemed so happy.
Right, get out of the way, Yeah. I'm sorted now. Go on, get home. I like it here. Go on, sling it. Who are you anyway?
I know,
fabulous.
Absolutely. She was telling the manager or the owner of the home what she had. She liked cornflakes and egg and bacon for breakfast. And thinking, yeah, so do I.
But yeah, I was going to think, I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
She went in the little telly lounge, and I thought, oh no, there was an old lady asleep, and there were 2 or 3, they're watching football on the telly, and she's there shaking the hands, hello, I'm Anne. And going around and thinking, oh God.
Fabulous.
Then we walked out the door, and she bumped into this bloke, who I'd never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, James, she says. Hello, Anne. She knew him from years ago. I don't quite know when.
Well, isn't that amazing?
As happy as Larry.
Well, fantastic.
We came to leave her, and Paul and I, she's never been very demonstrative until recently, when it's been kisses and cuddles, and she's been upset. We gave her a kiss and a cuddle, and we said, we'll be back to see you soon, and, the boys will be back, and their partners, and, your friends. She was off. Before we got out the door, she was going back into that telly lounge, and I bet she was going to look for James.
She's copped off. They've copped off. Hey, worse things can happen at sea.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thinking of getting the new hat.
We'll like
no, I'm just, but,
fabulous.
Thank you for listening.
No, it's all right. It's what we're for. We like a happy ending. It's not over yet, but we like a happy nearly ending.
Yeah, I slept well last night.
Good-o.
And I haven't slept well for, and I thought, if the phone goes, it's not going to be about Anne. And I'm going to see her this afternoon because we were told not to go and see her yesterday.
Let her get settled.
Yeah, but I phoned up.
Yeah.
And because I thought the night time would be, the worst time.
Yeah.
And they said she'd had a good night and she was absolutely fine. And
Excellent.
I hope that when I go this afternoon with one of her friends, I hope she's so busy watching telly or talking to one of her friends that we don't say very long.
Well, let us see. Well, good on you, and thanks for letting us know.
It's a pleasure.
And we're glad it's worked out. For the moment, it's worked out fine. Smashing.
I promised to tell you. Okay,
you did,
thanks.
and we're grateful to you for it.
Thanks
Cheers, Chris. 0161 228 2255. Thank you to everybody else. I mean, Chris is saying thank you to me, but it was a team effort, wasn't it, on Tuesday? We had all sorts of people phoning in with different bits of information. Janet told us about her brother. Helen told us about the Admiral nurses who may yet be needed, and well, it was just a little team effort. We like a little team effort from time to time. 0161 228 2255. If you've got something to say today, that's absolutely fantastic. And I suggested that Barack Obama, because he's going everywhere he appears in public, he's going to be behind 3 inches of 3 inches of glass. I said he's going to be living like a terrapin. Bill's quite clever. Bill in Royton says, better to be a terrapin than a terror victim. Oh, very good. Very good. Stephen in Macclesfield. Hiya, Stephen.
Hello, Alan. I just wanted a couple of things about Barack Obama.
Go on.
There was on this Sky, the O'Reilly factor, I think it was, the other night, something like that. It was the born Barry Obama, B-A-R-R-Y. And I just wondered, do you know the reason why he became Barack?
I have absolutely no idea.
And also, you're quite right about you say about he's going to be living his life in a goldfish bowl because, well, literally.
Actually, a goldfish bowl, yeah, just without the fish or the water. I hope they're getting one of them little bridges. Sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to say, you're so right, because I don't know if you noticed, during his victory speech in Chicago, in the Dome there, whatever it's called, there he was, and that's his home state, there he was surrounded by 3-inch glass. It wasn't greatly obvious, but...
Oh, yeah, that's how he'll now live his life. And that's how it'll have to be in that part of the world, sadly.
I mean, it's not a great way to live, I wouldn't have thought.
No,
but if anybody else knows why he's from Barry, he became Barrett, because he's interested to know that one.
We shall find out.
All right,
for sure. All right, good on you. We got a funny line at the end of that, but thank you very much indeed. Barack Obama. Stephen says on Sky Telly, it was announced by somebody that Barack Obama used to be called Barry Obama. Well, is that true? That's a bit like our own dear Gideon, isn't it? Yes, that's a bit like Gideon turning his name into George. He did it years ago. It's not like he's just done it last Tuesday. He changed his name all those years ago, and he's entitled so to do. We can call ourselves what we like. It's difficult to change your Christian name, your given name, as they say. You can change your family name without much difficulty, but your first name, that's a bit harder to do. But nonetheless, he seems to have done it successfully. So we've got George Osborne instead of Gideon Osborne, and if what Stephen says he heard on Sky Telly is correct, then we've got Barack Obama instead of Barry Obama. Frankly, it was probably a wise move, given that who the hell's going to vote for somebody called Barry in America? Not that there's anything wrong with being called Barry. Barry in St Helens. Hiya, Barry. Or should we call you Barack?
That was a bad time to come on, wasn't it?
Yeah, wait, very much planned, I assure you. Go on.
Right, I've been nominated by a bunch of taxi drivers for talk to you.
Oh, dear.
Right, we're all upset about, the 6-monthly test we have.
You mean your vehicle test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one garage that does the council garage that does it.
Yeah.
And every time it's going to fail. It's £140 for the test, and you know it's going to fail. No matter what you do to the car, it's going to fail. Well, mine failed last time it always fails on emissions. And I get it tested before I go to the test centre, but with another place, and it passes there. And I go to the test centre, and it fails it on emissions. And then I have to pay the extra cost for a retest.
Mm.
And that just goes in the back pocket. It stinks.
Well,
they've got the monopoly for the test, you see.
Okay. Well,
they shouldn't have.
Well, okay. Let us not dwell too much on that bit and go back to, you say you get it tested before you put it in. It fails. You then have to book it in for a retest that costs you yet more money. What happens to the car in between? Do you take it to a garage and get it tuned?
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
No, I didn't ask you whether... No. You take it in the first time and it fails.
No, before it fails, I always take it for an emission test first.
Okay, let me ask the question and then answer the one I ask rather than a different one, because it'll help me to understand. So you get the car tested. Then you take it to the official testing place. And it fails every time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Guaranteed it's going to fail.
Okay. So it fails on account of it fails the emissions test.
Yeah.
Okay? Then you have to book it in for the test again, don't you?
Yeah.
Right.
A
retest, yeah. And you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
What do you do with the car between the test the first time and the test the second time?
Well, as long as it's not a structural fault or a brake fault, they'll let you use the car.
No, I'm asking you a slightly different question.
I use the car.
Well, okay, but do you have the car serviced or dealt with by a mechanic at any time during the intervening period?
No.
No. So you take it the first time, it fails.
Yeah.
You take it the second time, it passes, and you've done nothing other than use it in the interim.
That's correct, yeah.
Have you told the council this?
Yeah.
You seemed hesitant.
Well, I went to them and said, well, you just didn't put your foot wrong, because...
Well, Barry, are you changing your answer to no?
No, yeah.
No, yeah. OK, I'll try again. Let me ask the question. Let's pretend that last few seconds never happened. The no, yeah, the yeah and the no. Because they don't add up to a hell of beans. Here we go. Have you told the council of your complaint?
He doesn't.
So no is the answer?
No.
No. You say you dursn't, but of course that is a fear of losing your licence, one presumes.
Not losing the licence, but you need to get a fresh car. Because your car will be marked then as he's complained.
But if you all complained, because you said that you've been elected to speak on behalf of a number, if they all complained, then they couldn't mark all your cars and treat you all badly, could they?
They're not all going to say I'm Spartacus, though, are they?
No, they're not all going to say I'm Spartacus, but they could all sign the letter.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
You could equally, because the garage you're talking about, not only will it be the monopoly garage, if you like, with the local authority, it will also have to meet all the specifications of testing centres, won't it?
Well, any normal MOT centre would do that.
No, but they will be registered to do tests. Their equipment will be registered and have to be maintained properly, and the vehicle and licensing people who authorise them to operate will be entitled to test them. So you could report them to that body.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
I mean, in the end, if the council never hear anybody complain, whether they complain or whether they don't complain because they're afraid or not, the council will think everybody's happy.
You're
and
right,
unless you tell them they're not happy, they're not going to do anything.
So I get all these taxi companies in town for...
Get them all together and say, look, we've had enough of this. This is what we're going to do. You could organise a protest. You could organise all withholding your fees or whatever until the council got its act together.
Yeah, but then what happens?
I'm not really sure, but I tell you what happens if you do nothing. What do you think happens if you do nothing?
Status quo.
Nothing, exactly. Good on you, Barry. Cheers, mate. Oh, no, 0161 228 2255. Don't ever go on Take Your Pick. I don't think you'll do a great job at the yes-no interlude. It's 22 and a half minutes past 12 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Anna Dawson.
The Bank of England's announced the biggest cut in interest rates since 1981. It's announced a cut of 1.5%. That's much more than had been widely expected. Around 100 people had to be evacuated after a fire at an apartment block in Manchester. It happened in Ancoats last night. No one was hurt. And President-elect Barack Obama has started to put together his team for the White House. He's asked a former advisor to Bill Clinton to become his chief of staff. Manchester's weather mainly cloudy and dry with some drizzle this afternoon. Highs of 10 Celsius.
He's going to pay him in cigars.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, no major problems to report on the motorways at the moment. All seems fairly clear and no major issues on public transport. But if you know different, call in 0161 244 4951. I'm Carl Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. How are you? Excellent. 0161 228 2255. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And of course you can text on 07786 206 951. Easy peasy. My word, we're getting some interesting noises. I hope they're not disturbing you. Better to be a terrapin than a terror victim. Done that one. I'm getting me emails all confused now, but worse things happen. Yes, Kevin says what people should realise is that President Obama, or I think he's President-elect Obama presently, but no matter, President-elect Obama was elected on just 53% of the votes. That means that 55 million Americans voted for somebody else. Yep, that is precisely what it means. But at least it's a majority. We, of course, elect our governments on minorities or with minorities in many, many cases. So the party, because we have this system of voting that we have, you end up with a situation sometimes where the party that takes power the party that becomes the government is actually elected by less than 50% of the voters. And indeed, in America, that can't happen because they end up in the end, well done, Beswick, but they end up usually with just two candidates going forward. And once you get two candidates, then you either get a dead heat or somebody gets a majority. But we don't do that. We do a first-past-the-post system, and it's based on the number of votes cast for each candidate. Rather like when you have the leadership election in the Tory party, that always ends up with two people standing, because they start with however many they want, and then they have a vote, and they drop some off the end, then they drop a few more off the end, and at the end of it, there's just two, so one is a winner. Well, that's how they do it, or more or less with the American elections. So yes, it's only 53%, but it's a hell of a lot more than voted for, well, the Prime Minister. In fact, the current Prime Minister, nobody voted for him to be Prime Minister, did they, when you think about it? Jim in a taxi in Bolton says they had the same problem as Barry, and they went to the Hackney Carriage Association, who sorted it out for them. So Barry and St Helens, go along to the Hackney Carriage, or make your complaint to the Hackney Carriage Association, assuming you're all members, and they'll sort it out for you, or at least may well. Another Barry, this time in Longsight. Hiya, Barry. Hello, Barry in Longsight. Hello? OK. Can you hear me, Mother? Barry in Longsight? No. 0161 228 2255. I don't know why we haven't got him, but no matter. A veritable posse of berets. Not berets. Susan in Virginia. Hi. He was always Barack. Oh, I see. Right, Susan, thank you. This answers the question put by Stephen. Barack Obama was always Barack, but he called himself Barry to fit in as an adolescent and reverted to his original name of Barack as he matured. Excellent. On another note, his own constituency of Chicago, Illinois, holds the distinct honour of being the US murder capital for 2008. Well over 400 so far this year, moving quickly towards 500. It would have been an achievement for him to clean that up before he went to Washington. While the Iraq war is unpopular, we would prefer not to lose any military members. Less soldiers have been killed in Iraq in 2008 than people murdered in Chicago. Good Lord, what an extraordinary statistic. America is a very bizarre place. My experience of America is limited. I've been to New York twice. That's it. Once for a week, once for 2 days. You could say I've spent 9 days in America. My experience of America is minimal. I'm not a fan of American international politics. I'm not. Can't help that. I'm just not. I'm not always a fan of the United Kingdom's international politics, but put that to one side and ignore the governments and all the rest of it. America is bizarre. There you have Susan in Virginia telling us that more people have been murdered in Chicago this year than American soldiers killed in Iraq this year. Okay. So you immediately get the idea that America is a violent place. And yet, as I say, my experience is limited. But the 2 occasions I've been to America, I found the people there utterly friendly, warm, decent, honourable people, like most people are the world over, but also extraordinarily polite, considerably more polite than people you meet in the United Kingdom generally. I found them a very, very welcoming, warm, friendly people, which is bizarre when you consider the amount of violence that exists in the country. Peculiar, can't work it out. Jim in Moston. Hiya, Jim.
Hello, Alan.
How are you?
Yeah, not bad. It's regarding the heavy-handed tactics of the council, Manchester City Council. I'm an ex-taxi driver, you know, and happened many years ago. I had a rusty wing, and they took my plate off on the Friday night, and I couldn't work. So Monday morning I went and changed the complete wing of the taxi, and I took it to the test center, to let them have a look and give me my plate back. But they say I have to go down to town hall and make an appointment. Went to town hall. They said we got nothing till next fortnight. And I had to stay off the road for a fortnight, me and the night driver. So these are the tactics Manchester City Council uses, you know.
Well, first of all, let's spool back a little bit. You were driving a taxi that had a rusty wing, did you say?
Rusty wing, yeah.
A rusty wing?
Wing, yeah.
Now, did you know that the wing was rusty?
Yeah, I'm due to have a change, like, you know.
But the trouble is that if it doesn't meet the standards, that's your fault, not the council's.
Yeah, I know, but why they had to make me wait a fortnight? All you had to take a glance on the wing and give me my plate back.
Well, all you had to do was get it right, and you didn't. So before we start attacking the council for doing their job slowly, oughtn't we to first of all say, actually, I drove my taxi about with a rusty wing and didn't bother to get it fixed quickly. So I didn't work very quickly, but at least the council should have done. Doesn't that put you in a very, very difficult place?
Yeah, I know, but it will do no harm to nobody, the rusty wing.
The rules are the rules.
Because I'm safe or anything, you know.
The trouble with it was doing no harm to nobody is true. Rather like if your brakes don't work, they don't do no harm to nobody until you need them. And then they do. Yeah. Then they're a bit of a beggar, you know. Yeah. So the idea that, well, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's a bit rusty. What the heck? You knew that you had a vehicle that would not pass the test, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did you do about it?
Well, eventually I had to change, you know.
Yeah, but what else did you do about it?
Why
I'll tell you the other thing you did about it, Jim. You drove passengers about in it, knowing that it wouldn't pass the test. What does that make you?
Yeah, but why they had to make me a fortnight?
Well, how long did it take you to get the wing test changed? How long did you know it was rusty for?
How long did I know?
Yeah.
Well, only a couple of weeks, like, you know.
A couple of weeks? What an amazing coincidence. You took exactly the same length of time as the council.
Yeah.
So who's wrong, you or them, or is it both of you?
Well, I was going to tell you another incident, but I think you're favouring council, you know.
I'm not favouring anybody. I'm saying your offences were equal.
Yeah.
Yours, it took me a fortnight, and let's face it, that fortnight, you were prepared to drive about a taxi with passengers in it, with pedestrians in the street. You were prepared to put up with that for 2 weeks plus before you did anything about it. You say you had it booked in, but unfortunately you were stopped before then. So the council intervened, or its representatives intervened, but you were prepared to drive a taxi about that did not meet the rules.
Yeah.
And you were prepared to do that for longer than 2 weeks. Because,
I was waiting for my test.
Because you never got round to it.
Yeah.
And well, when the council found you out, they got round to it at the same speed. Yeah. So if you want me to criticise them, I will.
No, I don't want you to criticise.
It was diabolical. It was diabolical of them to take 2 weeks.
People have to stay off work for a fortnight.
Well, they do if they don't obey the rules.
Yeah.
The solution was in your hands. Had you, when you found out the vehicle was unroadworthy in licensing regulations terms, had you dealt with it immediately, your problem would never have arisen.
Yeah,
and the public would have been safer.
The public are safe inside the cab, not outside the cab. They don't sit on the wing.
Well, they don't sit on the wing, but the public includes those who are walking along.
Yeah.
Have a good day, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
0161 228 2255. Interesting. It's all the council's fault. They kept me waiting a fortnight. A fortnight! A fortnight! How long did you keep them waiting, Jim? A fortnight! Well, what a coincidence. Mike, Alan, I thought that when G.W. Bush was elected, there was a minority of people, but a majority of electoral college votes chosen by the problems in Florida. Mike, you might be right, actually, because it is a collegiate election system, isn't it? And then, Alan, depending on how long you drove the car prior to the MOT, depends on the emissions reading. The longer you drive for, the better your emissions will be. I don't quite understand that, whoever sent that via text. Do you mean... Because obviously, if you drive a car for 500,000 miles, then the emissions probably won't be right. So do you mean on the way to the test centre, you were better off if you drove it round for a couple of hours? I'm not being funny. I don't understand what you've just said. That's not to say you said anything wrong. I just don't understand. Do you mean over the time, or do you just mean on that particular day? How damned irresponsible, says Gordon of Jim. He says that was an irresponsible thing to do. The other day I compiled an email to my mate in New York, says Gordon. We were talking about the election and I put the word Obama into the email. As it spell checks before it sends it, it picked up on the word Obama and suggested that and suggested that the replacement should be Osama. Could this be an omen? I'm sorry, I fluffed that because it was well worth having, but as I say, I managed to fluff it, which is a shame. 0161 228 2255 if you've something to say. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and you can text us on 07786 206 951. And when we were asked the question about Obama, Barack Obama changing his name to Barry Obama, when we got that question, I went to his website to see what it told us. But unfortunately, it tells us nothing other than, thank you. You proved that change can happen. You built an unprecedented grassroots organisation in all 50 states that brought a record number of people into the political process. Many for the first time in a long time. And then it says... I don't know what that is, but never mind. Is that our success required unprecedented resources, and the Democratic National Committee played a major role on the ground effort that generated record turnout up and down the ticket. Please make a donation to the DNC to help fund the efforts it undertook in 2008. When you donate $30 or more, you'll receive a limited edition T-shirt to show your support for change. So there you are, you see. That's how they do politics in America. They do politics in America on the dollar. Good morning, Alan, says Gordon in Crumpsall. Is there a groundswell of opinion in the United States to withdraw from Chicago to save American lives? Thank you very much for that. Mischief seems to be at the fore today, and I, for one, am grateful. I wonder how many of your listeners know that, in fact, there were 3 presidential candidates. There were indeed. There was an independent standing. I think he got about 5 votes in one constituency and then ran out of relatives. Stuart in Crumpsall, it is obvious that Obama has been elected because he is black. There has never been a turnout by black people like this in United States history. When black people were randomly asked why they were voting for Obama, they said they wanted a black president, but didn't know anything about his policies, just the fact that he's black. You say yourself may say he's not black, but they do. He's been elected because he is black, and there's no getting away from that. And that, says Stuart, is racist. We remember this happening in South Africa with white voters. You know what the Yanks are like when they don't get what they want. So how long do you think it'll be before he's assassinated and the blame put on some poor soul who's not a full bob? How think you, Alan, honestly? Well, I've said I don't have any difficulty with anything you've said. I think he is very definitely in danger of assassination. I think because there are so many guns in America, every president, rather like John Lennon and other famous people, are targets in America. If you become famous in America, you immediately develop a target on your chest. You do. The reason I say that is not because there are more wicked people in America than there are anywhere else. There are certainly more in the United Kingdom, in America than in the United Kingdom, but those wicked people are probably just the same percentage of that population as our wicked people are of our population. The difference is that over there they have a ready access to guns, to methods of killing you from a distance. You don't have to run up and stab somebody. You can actually stand 200 metres away and fire a high-powered rifle that you could even legally own, which is extraordinary. But there you are, that's how it is. And so, yes, he'll be in danger from the nutters without a doubt. But rather uniquely for him, because of his skin colour, he'll also be in danger from rather more organised nutters, should we say, people who are members of evil organisation. So he's in that danger as well. And, well, you know, it doesn't take a lot for the nutters to get one break. I think I read somewhere the terrorist argument is you've got to be on your guard all the time, and you've got to get lucky 1,000 times a year to stop us. But one of us has only got to get lucky once to get you. That's a scary statistic. But yes, Osama bin... I keep calling him that because I think it's funny, because I'm stupid. Now, Barack Obama will spend his life living in a glass cave about the same size as the real cave that Osama bin Laden is said to be living in. But that's his life now. He will live in that glass box forever. Like I said, Barack Obama will live his life as a terrapin. It's about 18 minutes to 1 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headline, Anna Dawson.
The Bank of England's announced the biggest cut in interest rates since 1981. It's announced a cut of 1.5%. That's much more than had been widely expected. An investigation's underway after around 100 people had to be evacuated during a fire at an apartment block in Manchester. It happened in Ancoats last night. No one was hurt. And President-elect Barack Obama has started to put together his team for the White House. He's asked a former advisor to Bill Clinton to become his chief of staff. Manchester's weather mainly cloudy and dry with some drizzle, highs of 10 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, let's have a look around the cameras on the M60, and at the moment all seems fairly clear. No accidents or incidents to report, thankfully. No major issues on public transport either. Just a quick reminder, though, we do have the tram stops at Piccadilly and Piccadilly Gardens closed off whilst engineering works continue on the tram tracks. Their long-term works underway now until later on this month. Don't forget, though, if you can update me further, call in 0161 244 4951. I'm Carol Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. Attention turns to the UEFA Cup this evening, and Manchester City face an FC Twente side looking forward to the challenge. That's according to their coach, Steve McLaren. The former England manager says the pressure's all on the Blues.
I think we have nothing to lose coming here. I think all the pressure is on Manchester City. It's their first game in the group, and as we know, beating Santander, it's important to get 3 points in your first home game, so all the pressure is on them.
Isn't that accent just brilliant? With 5 teams in the group, it was City who had the game off 2 weeks ago, and captain Richard Dunn says it's vital his side get off to winning ways at home.
The home games, I think, are going to be vital for us, and especially the first game in the group, we want to get off to a decent start and hopefully set down a bit of a marker for other teams, knowing that we're going to be the side to beat in the group.
Well, we've got full commentary from Eastlands this evening here on BBC Radio Manchester. That's in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock. Elsewhere in the UEFA Cup this evening, Tottenham take on Dinamo Zagreb, and Aston Villa are away to Slavia Prague. Former Arsenal keeper Bob Wilson has waded into the controversy over last weekend's defeat at Stoke. He's backed Arsene Wenger, saying tackles on Emmanuel Adebayor and Theo Walcott were totally out of order and should have been punished with a red card. Portsmouth manager Tony Adams has offered former Arsenal teammate Dennis Bergkamp the chance to return to the Premier League by taking up a coaching role at Fratton Park. Bergkamp currently works with the youth team at Ajax. Richie Burns' spell at Oldham Athletic appears to have come to an end. The former Aberdeen defender has spent the last few months at Boundary Park, but now looks set to leave the club instead of being involved in Saturday's FA Cup tie at Cheltenham. The Latics also confirmed they tried to sign a striker on loan in time for this weekend's game, but the club concerned didn't want the player to be cup-tied. Rochdale boss Keith Hill says they may have to consider selling some of their players in order to balance the books. That's if they're knocked out of the FA Cup at Barnet on Saturday. Dale had to part with Glenn Murray due to last year's exit.
If we'd beaten Southend last season and progressed to at least the third round, I don't think we would have sold Glenn Murray. You know, it is important that we go to Barnet trying to win the fixture, because we do realise how important it can be to our financial resources, and which ultimately will dictate whether we can keep our squad together or not.
Formula One chief Bernie Ecclestone has dismissed suggestions the sport has a problem with racism. World champion Lewis Hamilton was the victim of abuse during pre-season testing in Spain and in the build-up to Sunday's deciding Grand Prix in Brazil. But Ecclestone says some of the comments aimed at Hamilton have been misunderstood.
That was probably taken at the beginning as a joke rather than anything as abusive. I think people sort of look and read into things that are not there. All those things are all a bit of a joke. People are entitled to support who they want to support.
Well, without insulting somebody, surely?
I don't see... When was he insulted?
When they're putting on the wigs and the, you know, all that stuff, and a lot of people were very uncomfortable with it.
Well, I don't see what they should have been.
In Rugby League, England will be without St Helens prop Murray Fazafalou for the remainder of the Rugby League World Cup after he broke a finger in the game against the Aussies. He's to stay in Australia for an operation next week. Oldham prop Richard Merville has signed a new one-year deal. The Merville's decision to train as a firefighter has raised issues with the club, but they now appear to be resolved. In cricket, India are in a good position after the first day of the final test against Australia in Nagpur. The home side closed on 311 for 5, with Sachin Tendulkar making 109, his 40th test century. Lancashire's VVS Laxman hit 64. In golf, Henrik Stenson shot a first-round 7-under par 65 to lead in the Champions event in Shanghai. He's one shot ahead of the group, which includes Phil Mickelson and Sergio Garcia. Oliver Wilson is 2 off the lead and Ian Poulter 3 behind.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
Manchester City are looking to start their UEFA Cup group stage with a win at Eastlands this evening. The Blues face FC 20. We've got full commentary from 7 o'clock.
BBC Radio Manchester.
John in Stockport said, congratulations, Alan, on yesterday's mixed race Obama thing. Superb stuff. When I think about it, that Gordon Brown's got a bit of a tinge to him. Do you reckon it's just the Scottish weather-beaten look, or what? Very good. Dave in Radcliffe. Hey, Dave.
Oh, Alan, that taxi driver was talking about emissions.
He was.
Well, any public service vehicle that's plated has to go to a ministry testing station.
Yeah.
Not an ordinary garage. And about driving it round, yeah, the emissions will drop. If your engine's hot when you take it in, the emissions testing will drop. So more than likely it'll pass. If you just do the emissions in the garage and then take it straight to the testing station, it's still cool and the engine's still cool, it will, well, 9 times out of 10 it'll fail.
Really?
There's another thing, there's another thing I want to bring up.
Please do.
My mate has a farm in Sinister, right? Now, he took a couple of cattle up to Gisborne Cattle Auction. Now, we had a trailer on the back, twin wheels trailer, and pulling it with an L200 with tinted windows. Now, he went up and they pulled him on the side of the road, Ministry, DEFRA, you know, the police and everything, checked it all over, and all they found on it was a split in one of the tyres on the trailer. Now, they give him a ticket to go and get the tyre changed and take it into Haywood, the Ministry testing station at Haywood. We phoned up, we put a new tyre on it, we phoned up. He took it, this is the laugh, this now, Alan, you'll laugh at this one. He took it in, he booked it in for the tyre to be checked. Now, bear in mind, it's all been checked over before, and all they could find was a split in the tyre. He took it in, and what they did was they tested the windows and said these windows were too dark in the vehicle. But they'd already done that on the side of the road.
Oh, dear.
So he had to what he had to do again then, they give him a destruction order saying that if he drove it after such and such a time, it'd be impounded. We had to go back to the farm, tear the stuff off the windows, take it back and have it checked again. But bear in mind, the ministry had already checked it on the side of the road. So that taxi driver might have a point.
It may, of course, be that the ministry checking it on the side of the road as not as what we might call efficient equipment.
Well, they do, Alan. They're handheld things, yeah? Just put it to... The police have it. Just put it to the window, and it tells you what the vision you can see through the window.
Why does anybody have tinted windows?
Well, this was bought with them already.
Well, why would you buy with a car with tinted windows?
Well, it's not a car. It's not a car, Alan.
Van,
it's
car,
a towing
truck.
vehicle.
Well, whatever.
It's a towing vehicle.
Well, whatever it is. What are we doing with
I don't
tinted
know.
windows?
Well, they're trying to be like the old ambulances. You remember them?
I do,
when you
yeah.
could see out, but you couldn't see in.
Well, there was a very good reason for that, because people, you know, they don't want to be looked at when they...
That's right, yeah.
But they didn't have
taxis
it...
were like that as well, weren't they? Taxis, the old acne cabs used to be like that as well.
donkeys years ago, yeah.
Well, there you go. I'm a donkey's years old. You see. I'm 62 in February, so... But, I mean, this sort of thing happens. You can get your car MOT'd at an MOT station, right, and get your thing, get your ticket and everything. And they say when you drive it off the forecourt, if you get pulled by the police, then and they find something wrong with your vehicle, then it's not our fault because we've already MOT'd it and passed it. Once you've gone off our forecourt, then it's classed as being your own again. And then one MOT station might fail it on one thing, and another MOT station might pass it on that thing.
But
they all have different standards.
Well, isn't that inevitable, given that a lot of the things that they're examining, not all by any means, but a lot of the things they're examining are professional opinion rather than actual specifics?
Of course, I understand that. I understand that fully. But why take it to one MOT station? And just as a matter of interest, you can drive straight out of one MOT station into another and fail it. And they've passed it in one and failed it in another. And it's 50 quid.
Well, yes, but the point I'm making is that is inevitable when you have things that are... I mean, it won't fail the emissions, except for the reason you gave me earlier, that the vehicle has been driven different distances, warm engine, cold engine, so that'll give a difference. But also, I mean, tyres and things like that, if you look at a tyre, there are very strict rules about what constitutes a roadworthy tyre and what constitutes a non-roadworthy tyre.
Of course, yeah.
But when you start to examine those rules, although they look very, very precise, they aren't. Because it says things like across a third of the tread.
That's right, yeah.
Well, how much is a third? Without actually measuring the surface area all around the tyre, you can't know that. So that kind of thing is professional opinion, if you like.
Yeah, well, it's another thing for you to think about. I've been into an MOT station years ago, and one person's got a screwdriver trying to push it through the body underneath. And another MOT station, they hit it with hammer. You get me?
I think I might have trained the second mechanic.
Oh, is it with hammer?
Yes, quite so. He obviously went to the same school as me.
Yeah,
good on you, Dave. Cheers, mate. Have a good day. Yes, I'm very good at body work as long as it's a dent what you want. Talking of the United States of America, says James in Heald Green, crime figures, 90% of prison inmates in the US come from 10% of the population. Now the new president is seen as a role model for African Americans. Let's hope these figures will improve. Obama's middle name is Hussein. Well, as long as we know. Did anyone notice any black people in the audience when John McCain was speaking? That's from Tony. George in Audenshaw. Hiya, George.
Hi, good afternoon, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well.
Excellent news. I was just thinking about the CIA.
Yeah?
A lot of them are taking early retirement at the moment, apparently.
Really?
Yeah, they don't want to be his... nobody wants to be his bodyguard.
Very good, yes. He's going to need one, isn't he? Dear heaven.
I think a lot of them are going to take early retirement.
Well, they might not. They like that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
They love all that. They like a bit of excitement in their life. That's why they're in the CIA.
Yeah.
Is it the CIA that guards him? I don't think it is.
I believe it is. I believe it is, you know.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh,
because,
is it not?
Well, the CIA, don't they do the stuff outside of America? And it's the FBI inside. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, I'm not sure either, Alan.
No.
You could be correct.
He probably has a special squad for it, don't they?
Yeah.
Because it's huge, you know. It's not just his bodyguards. It's like, let's say they were coming to Manchester.
It's a rotation, isn't it?
They'd be here about a month before.
Oh, yeah.
Sealing up drains and all sorts.
Yeah, checking it all out, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely right. Everywhere they visit, they go before, don't they?
Yeah, they go and they sort it all out. They do all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Get rid of all the grassy knolls.
Yeah.
All right, have a good day, Joe.
Okay, Alan.
Cheers, mate. Andy in Hazel Grove. More murders in Chicago than American deaths in Iraq this year. I wouldn't mind betting that there have been more murders in London and or Manchester than UK deaths in Iraq. Just a thought, says Andy in Hazel Grove. Well, I don't know the figures for either of them, really. I don't know the figures. You may be right. You may be absolutely bob on. I have no idea. But you just wonder, don't you? We talk a lot about the soldiers who lose their lives abroad and all the rest of it. And rightly we should, particularly as we approach Remembrance Sunday. But it isn't that many. 150? When you consider that more people die on the streets of Britain, it's not that many. Everyone's a loss. Everyone's a loss, whether they're killed in a road traffic accident or whether they're killed by insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan. Of course, everyone's a loss. But we do tend to, as a collective, as a nation, we tend to feel the deaths of our military personnel more than we do the deaths of our non-military personnel, should we say.
Mornings sound better with Eamon O'Neill and Diane Oxbury.
Eamon and Diane.
Well, my absolute guilty pleasure is going to the petrol station and buying one of the offers that they've got on. If it's $2.99, I gotta have it. Last night I got a torch, which will never need a battery. It's got a crank on the side and you just keep cranking it. I'm thrilled with it.
Eamon and Diane and you.
I asked him to change the toilet seat, so I said to him, you probably need a little hacksaw to get those bolts off. He decided to use a hammer. And then I heard the expletive, and he came in with half the toilet bowl. So it's a very expensive toilet seat replacement.
The station with Eamon and Diane for breakfast.
Maybe it's just because it's early.
Back tomorrow morning from 6 at BBC Radio Manchester.
0161228 2255. If you want to join us, you can. Joe in Rossendale says it's the Secret Service that protect the president. Yeah, but what are they a branch of? They don't recruit. Just, I want to join the Secret Service. How would you find out where they were? Oh, so are they a subdivision of the FBI or a subdivision of the CIA? Or is it a specifically recruited service? I've no idea. I don't suppose there's a Secret Service training school somewhere, is there? Or is there? Adam in Brightmet. Who would want to be the President of America, living in fear all their lives? I'd rather be a whinging taxi driver, says Adam in Brightmet. Are you suggesting that is what you are, or are you having a go at somebody who was on earlier? Neil in Bebbington, I was wondering if the leadership of the BNP have sent their congratulations to President-elect Obama. My guess is that they haven't. I don't know why I feel that. It's just that way. I was told, says Christopher in Middleton, I was told by my MOT centre, this man has his own MOT centre. How posh is that? Anyway, why don't you just get a new car and cut out all the expense, Christopher? I was told by my MOT centre to give me car a good run on the way to their test centre next time I went, because apparently the warmer everything is, the better the emissions. So there you are. The warmer it is, the better the emissions, presumably meaning the fewer emissions, or there will be fewer emissions. You see, it's just knowledge queuing up to attack your head, isn't it, here? It is. I know. Following up on the comments regarding Chicago murder statistics, Washington, D.C. used to hold the distinction of being the murder capital of the country, home of the President and Congress. I'm uncertain as to whether it is just a raw number or a per capita figure. I don't know if you've been to Chicago. Well, no, I've not. I do know you've been to New York, says Michael. These are major metropolitan cities with all the associated negative factors that come along with that. There's no indication from the number thrown out how many murders were committed by whom and against whom. If history is any indication, there were most likely black men killing black men over turf or drugs. Also remember that America has nearly 300 million residents. Iraq has 29 million. They are indeed statistics to be conjured with, but isn't that the very essence of what statistics are for? Just to convince us all we know now.
Manchester City take on FC 20 in the UEFA Cup. Follow the build-up and full match commentary today from 7.
How does a football team end up being named FC 20? Are there another 19? Is there a 21? Presumably FC stands for football club. You rather hope so.
95.1 FM,
DAB Digital Radio.
and the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, the biggest cut in interest rates since 1981 and an investigation after 100 people are evacuated from an apartment block in Manchester.
And Keith Hill says Rochdale may have to sell players if they're knocked out of the FA Cup on Saturday.
Well, it's yet another cloudy day. 1 or 2 bright spells, a little bit of light rain and drizzle, some mist on the hills and top temperatures of 10 Celsius.
And do take care if you are travelling over the Pennines, as we just heard there, still fairly foggy around Junction 21 through towards Junction 22 at Richworth Moor.
Good afternoon, I'm Anna Dawson. The Bank of England's announced the biggest cut in interest rates since 1981. They've been cut by 1.5%. The Bank of England said it made the move because the risk of higher inflation had fallen. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Yvette Cooper, says it's now time for firms and mortgage holders to reap the benefits.
This is a very welcome and major step from the Bank of England that will help Britain deal with the serious problems from the global credit crunch. But it is critical that the banks now pass on cuts to businesses and to families, mortgage holders right across the country, because that's how we'll see these benefits actually passed on to people everywhere.
Well, Paul Kirkham's from Greater Manchester's Chamber of Commerce and says if banks pass the cut on to customers, it should boost our local economy.
Well, hopefully it will benefit them and free up some of the money that needs to come back into the economy. Of course, that can only happen if the banks actually pass the interest rate cut back onto their customers, which didn't necessarily happen with the last 0.5% cut a few weeks back.
The supermarket Asda's announced that it's reducing the cost of petrol by 2p to 92.9p a litre at all its outlets from tomorrow. It already dropped the price to 94p last month. BMI is pulling its long-haul flights out of Manchester Airport. Bosses say services to Las Vegas and Chicago, as well as Caribbean hotspots, haven't had enough demand to sustain the flights. It means up to 140 people will be out of work. An announcement's due this afternoon, which is expected to confirm that workers at Manchester Airport will be one of the first places in the country to trial the government's new identity card scheme. It'll be the first step in the government's plan to roll the cards out nationally. London City Airport's also expected to take part. Shadow Home Secretary Dominic Grieve isn't in favour of the scheme, though.
It's a gimmick, you see. What they're trying to do is to persuade the public that this is a desirable thing, because most of the public, if asked, would think, yes, it's a good idea that airside workers should have identity cards. But the truth is that they already have very serious identity checks carried out, and this is a complete waste of money.
An investigation's underway after around 100 people were evacuated when a fire broke out in an apartment block in the Ancoats area of Manchester. It happened in the early hours on Naples Street. The call-out was one of over 1,000 for crews on bonfire night. Paul Duggan from Greater Manchester Fire Service says despite stretched resources, they managed to attend the fire and are now looking into how it happened.
The initial findings seem to indicate that the fire started in the basement of the building in a number of vehicles, which was extinguished quickly, but I believe it created a large volume of smoke. We did still attend that with the normal number of engines that we would expect to, and they were available very quickly. So thankfully, even though we were extremely busy, we were still able to maintain our normal standards of emergency cover.
And President-elect Barack Obama's started to put together his team for the White House. He's asked a former advisor to Bill Clinton to become his chief of staff. His next appointment will be Secretary to the Treasury, who'll have to start tackling the economic crisis.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Rochdale manager Keith Hill says they may have to consider selling some of their players in order to balance the books if they're knocked out of the FA Cup at Barnet on Saturday. Dale had to part with striker Glenn Murray due to last year's exit. Manchester City face FC Twente in the UEFA Cup this evening. Their coach Steve McLaren says his players are looking forward to it, and the former England manager claims the pressure's all on City to get a good home start. We've got full commentary in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock. Richie Burns' spell at Oldham Athletic appears to have come to an end. The former Aberdeen defender spent the last few months at Boundary Park, but now looks set to leave the club instead of being involved in Saturday's FA Cup tie at Cheltenham. Formula One chief Bernie Ecclestone has dismissed suggestions the sport has a problem with racism. Ecclestone says that spectators mocking Lewis Hamilton by wearing wigs, dark makeup and T-shirts with the slogan Hamilton's family was misunderstood and intended as a joke. In Rugby League, Oldham prop Richard Merville has signed a new one-year deal with the club, and India are in a good position after the first day of the final test against Australia in Nagpur. The home side closed on 311 for 5. Lancashire's VVS Laxman hit 64.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stott.
Well, the good news is that it's going to be a mostly dry afternoon for most of us. There's a lot of cloud around, so it's going to be pretty grey, although that cloud will lift and thin from time to time, so we could see one or two bright or sunny intervals. There is just the outside chance of a light drizzly shower here or there, and if you're going across the hills, it could well be a little bit misty. Top temperatures today, 10 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones. 0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
The phones, the Healy mail, the texting. Oh, it's just communication gone mad. Mike in Poynton. Hiya, Mike.
How are you?
I'm all right, I think.
Would you be prepared to have a word with my stepdaughter?
Yeah.
Yeah, what could that? Thank you very much.
It's
And
okay.
she'll tell you what's going on.
Okay.
Hello.
Hiya.
Hiya. Just some advice, really, please. What it is, I've got a son who's got mental health problems. It's very complex. And we had a meeting yesterday with a psychiatrist and care coordinator, and they basically told him he's not to go to A&E when he feels very disturbed, and also that we've been ringing what's called the crisis team. Now, I've been ringing them on a regular basis, especially at weekends, because I've no one else to reach to when he's poorly. And she's told me I'm not to ring them again. And I was crying yesterday, and I said, you're just cutting off the last bit of support that I feel I've got, and I feel very alone with it. So I've just come to my mum's, and my stepdad just said to ring you.
Blimey. I don't know where to start, really. You're in contact with the authorities, and
Yeah.
they appear to be, from your perspective, withdrawing from you, really.
Yes, that's it.
Do they give you reasons for that?
No, they haven't. Now, I rung the crisis team all this weekend because my son come out of hospital and they gave him new medication and he's been quite poorly. And I was concerned, so I've been ringing them up, and then on the Monday he said he was going to go and hang himself, which is common. But I was really worried about him, and I rung them up and I said, look, what do I do? You know, I'm in a state here, I've got a little baby to look after, and I don't know who to turn to and what to do. He's 26, you know.
Yeah.
And the crisis team said somebody should have come to see you, and nobody did. And then, like I say, yesterday the psychiatrist said I've not to ring them.
Did he tell you who you ought to ring?
No, I was just crying, and she said, you've got a support worker, use her. But my support worker is never in at weekends. You know, she doesn't work weekends. And that's when I struggle to cope with him sometimes. Or at night, you know, usually when people aren't around, that's when I, you know, if I struggle, I have people I'll ring and just say, can you help, can you reassure him? Because a lot of times he'll calm down if they speak to him. So
It's very difficult for me to know what to say.
Yeah.
Because there could be clinical reasons rather than just convenience reasons that the psychiatrist has said what he or she said. I don't want to make judgments here because
no, of course you don't know
that would
the case.
utterly
really.
even if I did, who am I already?
Yeah.
But I can perceive a situation where the clinical decision is that someone is doing what they are doing in hysteria, attention seeking, if you like.
Yeah.
And the clinical decision might be that the best way to now respond to that is to leave them to it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that is the case.
No, but it sounds like it.
Well, no, I'm not even making that judgment.
Yeah, no.
What I'm saying is that sometimes what appears to be a withdrawal of treatment is actually the right treatment. Now, I'm not saying that's the case, nor even that it could be, but do you know what I mean?
Yes,
It's not always as... What I would suggest is a number of things. The first one is to have a conversation with an organisation like Mind.
Yes, I was thinking that, actually.
Because they are experienced in this field.
Yeah.
There are other organisations as well. Some of them are diagnostic-led, if you like. There's the Schizophrenia Association and things like that. But they're specific to people with specific conditions, although they would, of course, direct you. But frankly, you need to be talking with that organisation or one similar to it,
right?
So that you can at least grasp why things are happening the way they are.
Yeah.
I mean, if your son was 12 rather than 26, it might be something entirely different. But
it was, yeah, because as he's grown up, so up to the age of 18, he's had help basically.
Yeah.
That we don't get now.
Indeed, and at the risk of sounding exceptionally cruel, adults have to take some responsibility for their own behaviour.
Yeah.
And sometimes parents and other relatives actually get in the way. I'm not saying you are.
No.
But honestly, I think you need to talk to experts. I think you need to talk... I mean, I presume you've had these conversations with your son's GP.
No, not yet.
That might be a good course as well, because one thing that happens with the GP is that all the stuff that happens in hospital, eventually the information works its way back onto the records, and he or she may be able to explain why, if there is a reason. It might simply be that they're overstretched and can't be bothered.
Yeah.
All those things are possible. The world is not a happy place at times, but I think Mind or some other support agency can help you to grasp your position.
Right, okay, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, I'll try that. Thank you very much.
If it doesn't work, then come back to us and stay tuned. You never know, there'll be people listening who have possibly been through what you're going through.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Good on you.
Thank you.
If anyone can help, if you've anything to offer to the lady, I know not her name, you'll notice I didn't ask, but the stepdaughter of Mike, if you've got anything to offer, then I'm sure she'd love to hear it. I know I would. 0161 228 2255 if you've something to say, either in that situation or indeed about anything. You know me. Alan in Poynton. It annoys me too that Mr. Obama is termed black. He isn't. I've seen white people come home from continental holidays browner than him. That all men are equal is quoted by and large by the coloured vote in America, which gave him the majority. But in an election, he is reported as the first black president. So why make an issue of it? It should be unimportant. You're never reminded that he's 6'7" tall or has ingrowing toenails. Perhaps he isn't or hasn't, but you're not told because it's not important, and neither should his colour be. The correspondent who said his spell checker picked Obama up compares with my observation of the announcement it's Obama's victory on 3 separate lines. Because words are generally recognised en bloc by the brain, even upside down and back to front to a certain extent, I was surprised what came up when mirrored sideways. Serves them right, says Alan in Poynton. Well, OK, you see, if only it was true that his colour didn't matter, if only it was true, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? But it does matter. It does matter. It matters because people make it matter. And yes, you fall into the trap of helping them to make it matter if you mention it all the time. But it does matter. I, for one, did not expect America to elect a black president during my lifetime. I didn't. Not that I didn't think they should, or shouldn't. I think they should vote on the merit of it. But how many times at the polling station have you heard people say, "Oh, I'm not voting for him. He looks shifty." They do. I've done it. I'm not voting for him. He looks shifty. I've even on one occasion had serious conversations with myself about whether to vote at all, on the grounds that I didn't like the candidate, although I supported his party. It's just tricky. I don't know. I don't know. You tell me. 0161 228 2255. Do feel free. Have your say, why don't you? Why are the BBC newsreaders celebrating the bank interest rate cuts? My savings are doing nothing. My ISAs are losing money faster than a bloke with a betting addiction. Put them up is what I say. Us middle-class savers need the extra. Regards, Kevin. Well, you should have bought a fixed-price ISA, Kevin. Not one of them uppy-downy cash jobbies, but there you are. You slipped up there. Hard luck on you. And I don't think the BBC newsreaders are celebrating. I think they're merely reporting. Now, it may be that commentators, some will be celebrating, others, and you're right, I'm not bothered about you and your middle-class investments, that's for sure. But I am bothered about retirement pensions who are living on their savings because their income from them savings has just plummeted.
Life and laughs with Eamon and Jimmy.
Apparently the California vintners in the Napa Valley area, which primarily produces Pinot Noir and Pinot Grigio, have developed a new hybrid grape. It's expected to reduce the number of trips you have to make to the toilet through the night.
It'd be perfect for you, though. What's it called?
Pinot More.
Eamon O'Neill
and Jimmy Wag.
Diana Ross has sent that one in.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. She was at my house the other night, Diana Ross.
Was she?
Yeah. I phoned up the pizza shop and said, send me a crusty supreme.
If your radio sounds funny on Sunday morning, you must be listening to Eamon O'Neill and Jimmy Wag.
You start as a boy broadcaster, before you know it, you're pushing 40.
Sunday morning from 9.
At BBC Radio Manchester.
Well, I now know rather more about all of the services of the United States than I really need. I've been sent the website of the United States Secret Service. So they've got the FBI, they've got the CIA, and the Secret Service. And this is what they did. The Secret Service's Electronic Crimes Task Force and Electronic Crimes Working Group initiatives seek to prioritise investigative cases that involve some form of electronic crime. No. These initiatives provide needed support and resources with field investigations. All right. But they do protection, learn about protecting the president, the vice president, former US presidents, visiting foreign dignitaries and other protectees. Investigations, our investigative mission is to safeguard the payment and financial systems of the United States. The Secret Service was created in 1865 to suppress counterfeit currency. The most wanted fugitives. Most wanted help the Secret Service locate most wanted fugitives and those wanted for questionings. Yeah. And opportunities. A premier law enforcement organisation is looking for highly qualified men and women from diverse backgrounds who desire a fast-paced, exciting and challenging career. And then know your money. Every year, the public is victimised by the counterfeiting of United States currency and other US obligations. I don't know what other US obligations are, and frankly I can get by without, but there you are, they've got their own website. How secret are you if you've got a website? But there you are. The US, they come under the aegis of the Department of Homeland Security. And they have a badge, because the Americans like badges. All their detectives have badges and things. And their badge, if the crest on their website is anything to go by, their badge is a 5-pointed star, rather like a sheriff's badge of yesteryear, Roy Rogers and all that. And in the middle it says, United States Secret Service. And then what looks like a sailor's hat with 5 red bars below it. If you're thinking of making one, the dimensions are not offered here. So if you are going to replicate one, in order to sneak up on the president or some other protectee, as he was described, then you'll need the dimensions, so I shouldn't bother until you've got those, if you're that way inclined. But thank you very much indeed to Michael, who sent me that. That's fabulous. I'm now probably listed on a website somewhere as having checked in to the... I'm listed, checked in to the Secret Service website. Yeah. And Kevin says, if you've had serious conversations with yourself, you should be barred from voting. That's not nice, is it? That's not nice at all, that. Very, very sad. I'm not keen on that. He's just having a go at me. And he's not alone. People are doing that all the time. And Michael says, and he sent me the website, remember, he just wanted to say that he loves the programme, although apparently it gets his blood boiling sometimes. But equally, it gets the mental wheels churning. Oh, I don't think we want to be responsible for that. It's 1:20 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Mairead O'Kane.
The Bank of England's announced the biggest cut in interest rates since 1981. They've been reduced by 1.5%. The government claims the rollout of identity cards isn't being scaled back despite plans to just issue the cards to airside staff at Manchester and London city airports. The Home Office has announced the scheme will be piloted from next year. And an investigation's underway after around 100 people were evacuated after a fire broke out in an apartment block in the Ancoats area of Manchester. The call-out was one of over 1,000 for crews on bonfire night. Manchester's weather mainly cloudy and dry, some drizzle, highs of 10 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
If you're heading through the city centre of Manchester, watch out for the usual restrictions on Albion Street on the outbound. I'm afraid it's closed off between Great Bridgewater Street and Whitworth Street West. The diversion takes you along Great Bridgewater Street to Beetham Tower, then it's a left turn onto Deansgate. Again, if you're in the West area, Stott Lane's still closed in both directions whilst resurfacing work continues between Eccles Old Road and Meadowgate Road. And don't forget, if you have any updates for me, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester.
With 2020 traffic through until midnight.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. 0161 228 2255. If you want to join us, you can. Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk. And the text number is 07786 206 951. Do you remember... It was earlier this week. I'm a trendsetter, you know that. You've become accustomed to it. But earlier this week, I was talking about overtime. It might have been back end of last week. But, hey, don't make me a liar for a day or two. Or even at all, if I think of it. Yeah, and I'd said that so far as I can see, regular overtime stuffs the working classes. Stuffs the working classes, from my point of view, from two perspectives. One, it allows employers to get away with paying a paltry sum for the work they need doing. Because they can say, well, it's all right, you can make it up with overtime. So you say to someone, how much do you earn? They say 300 quid a week. You think, blimey, they're on good money. And then they say to you, well, actually, it's 300 quid a week, but I work 12 hours on Saturday to make it up. So, do you know what I mean? It allows them to pay a low hourly rate. But also, it keeps other people out of work. Now, I'm not talking about occasional overtime. I'm not talking about, we've got a rush job, can we get this out by Saturday? And everybody, it's all hands to the pumps and they get the job out because the company needs to make a profit for us all to survive. I understand that. But regular overtime does people out of work. Whilst you're doing a 60-hour week, you're actually, every two of you that does 60 hours a week regularly is doing somebody out of a job. So if there's two people in a firm doing 60 hours a week, there could be three people doing that work. Anyway, there you are. So that was what I said, and needless to say, that upset a number of people, but that's fine, because a number of others actually thought I was talking sense, which always frightens me when anyone says that. I always think I better relook at it. But there's me, minding my own business, wading my way, and it is a wade, through the Daily Express, and what do I find? First of all, Lord Mandelson staring out at me. I thought we'd got rid of that beggar, but no, the comeback kid is with us once again. Mad Labour, says the Daily Express, Mad Labour rebels vote to ban overtime. You see? I'm a mad Labour rebel, apparently. Out-of-touch Labour Euro MPs... Out-of-touch? Out-of-touch? Out-of-touch Labour Euro MPs embarrassed Gordon Brown yesterday by voting to restrict Britain's working week to a maximum of 48 hours. The move was described as madness and at a time when small businesses are struggling to stay afloat and hard-working families rely increasingly on overtime earnings. In defiance of the Prime Minister, the MEPs voted to enforce the European Working Time Directive, limiting the working week to a maximum 48 hours. Britain opted out of the directive in 1993, meaning that consenting workers here can work up to 65 hours a week. The opt-out's worth an estimated $9 billion a year to Britain. Do we really want to be a nation that has people working 65 hours a week just so they can make a decent wage? Don't we otherwise want to be a nation that has people working 40 hours a week and in that time earning enough to have a reasonable life? Everything else is surely ripping people off. Robert in Bolton. Hiya, Robert.
Hiya, Alan. You all right?
I'm very well.
Very good. I believe you've got one of them Bose systems for the music, you know.
One of them what?
Have you got a Bose acoustic system? No?
Oh, I have, yes. I have a Bose, yes.
Ah, I see. What kind of music you into?
Opera.
Opera?
Yeah.
That does it sound good for you, the Bose, is it? 'Cause it's a pretty good piece of kit, isn't it?
It sounds all right.
I just want it lighten it up a bit, because we listen to you quite a lot, you see. I'm just going on a job there, and my dad said, why don't you try and lighten it up a little bit, you know?
Well, you've picked a difficult subject, because...
What, music?
Yeah, it's not my cup of tea, really. I'm not into music. I don't...
A little bit if you've got a Bose acoustic system.
Well, there's more than one person lives in our house.
Ah, I see.
You know?
Right. So it's not one of your strong subjects, music?
I think of all the subjects, it's probably my weakest, unless, of course, we're discussing music from about 4 years in the 60s. Once they started wearing flowery shirts, I was screwed, but up to then, I was all right, you know, with beat groups. I'm pretty good on beat groups.
Beat groups, right.
Yeah.
I'm more indie rock and roll.
Indie. You see, I'm not altogether sure I know what that means.
Very good. I don't think my dad does neither.
No, well, there you are. You see, we have a likeness.
Sure. Right, I'll let you go then.
All right, cheers. Good on you. Right, he's on his way somewhere, and he likes indie music. Now, I believe that indie music, and I'm quite prepared. There's nothing wrong with the term beat groups. Proper music. And the Beatles were a beat group, as were the Rolling Stones and Dave Berry, and all that lot. Yes, I know it's hard for a person with one name to be a beat group, but there you are. Jethro Tull, there were loads of them. Yes, quite. There's nothing wrong with it, but beat group, we all knew what we meant in them. They're beat groups. That's what they used to say. They were nothing like beatniks. They didn't have the pullovers for a start. You see, everybody under 45 now is saying, what's he talking about? And quite a few over. Dave, the American president. People are quoting Martin Luther King's speech. After seeing the cost of the election, did he really mean to say, I dream of the day when a man will not be judged by the colour of his skin, but the size of his wallet? Oh, very good, Dave. We like that. And Alan, what's all the fuss, says David in Crumpsall, what's all the fuss about banks not passing on interest rate cuts? You can guarantee that within the next 2 days, most, if not all, the banks will be placing advertisements notifying the public of immediate cuts in the rates offered to savers. I mean, that is the downside, isn't it? Very definitely the downside. If they cut interest rates, the Bank of England cut interest rates, then clearly the people who've got money invested in the banks are going to lose out. And Chris from Atherton said he should have stuck with Barry Obama. That way he would have got the Irish vote as well. I did the Irish gag the other day, and when I was doing it, I thought, my God, this is stretching it. Because I said, didn't I, that whatever happened, an Irishman was going to win the election. Either Mr. Obama or Mr. McCain. Aye, one of them will win. Aye, it'll be one of ours. It'll be an Irish boy in there for sure. Yes, why am I doing a Welsh accent? I have absolutely no idea, but thank you very much indeed. Isn't it ironic, said Andy in Runcorn. Oh, yes, it is, Andy. Isn't it ironic, the amount of whinging that's gone on from dog owners over the stress that all the fireworks cause to them and their flea-ridden poo-making machines? I could go to the most remote place in Britain and have to put up with some idiot shouting their dog. I very nearly lost it big time a couple of weeks ago when some prat entered a nature reserve and literally shouted at their dog for the whole half hour they were present. The only thing that stopped me moaning big style at her was the fact that I was wearing a T-shirt with Mr. Happy on it. Do they have dogs because they're socially inept, do you think? Says Andy in Runcorn. They are noisy, aren't they? I mean, first of all, the dogs are noisy and all that woofing and all that caper, which you can live without. And then the people are, hey, Spot, come on, Spot, put that down, put that child down. You ate one yesterday. You don't need two in a week, put it down. Exactly. Even on Blue Peter, get down, Shep. They're always telling it things to do, aren't they, dog owners? They're always issuing orders. Perhaps they've got feelings of inadequacy, and they feel better having something to possess. Whereas cat owners, well, you never hear them shouting at the cat, do you? Come over here. Yeah, that's going to happen. You try it once, you never bother again. You go hoarse before it came. Dave in Chadderton, hiya.
Hiya, Alan. Good afternoon. The reason why I phoned is the call you had the other day about the price of diesel and the price of petrol.
Oh, yes, somebody said, why was diesel X pence more?
Yeah, and I had a conversation with a few of my friends in the local pub last night, and we led to believe...
Always a good place to do your research, Dave.
And was led to believe that diesel cars are more environment-friendly than unleaded.
I don't know. Because I thought the outpourings of diesel, whilst I'm not altogether sure that they're bad for the environment in terms of greenness and all that, isn't it the case that they have carcinogenic speckles in their exhaust? So the world will live longer, but you'll die quicker.
All right.
I don't know, but I've been told. I've no idea.
Because somebody was there, he was a mechanic, and he was saying diesel are more for the environment than unleaded. If that's the case, why not just build diesel cars across the globe and get rid of unleaded? Then that would be cheaper for everybody, and the price would come down.
Well, maybe it would come down, but the world might turn black as a result, because when you get a dodgy diesel, which will run for about 50 years, when you get a dodgy diesel, it doesn't have to push out some garbage, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Which is the greater... Let us ask. There'll be people that know. Let us ask. Which is the greater pollutant, all things considered? Petrol or diesel? That's the question. Which is the greater pollutant, petrol or diesel? I know that in terms of miles per litre or gallon or what, I suppose it's kilometres per litre, isn't it? But miles per gallon, the diesel is more efficient. You get more miles for your litre. But I've no idea. You see, the pricing of fuel is as much to do with the taxman as it is to do with its inherent cost, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
I agree with that, but with the price of diesel and they're going on about the credit crunch and trying to keep people in work, there's more things run on diesel, like trains, buses, anything you can name is run on diesel, not on unleaded. So you would think to bring the diesel down and put the unleaded up, because the unleaded is for a working man, you know, like driving around in the street. Whereas the other thing, it creates work. Everything's run on diesel.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose it is really. Most heavy goods vehicles. Mind you, I don't know why we've got so many heavy goods vehicles. Everything should be on the train, surely, but there you are, that's me. All right, well, I don't know the answer, but you seem to have hit on something. Maybe you're right.
OK, thank you very much.
Good on you, Dave. Dave says that his mate's in the pub, as I say, a very reliable resource, if ever there was. I think it's like a licensed Wikipedia, isn't it, the pub? You're finding things out there, but he says that a couple of mechanics in the pub reckon that diesel engines are less harmful to the environment than unleaded petrol engines. Is he right? Are there any scientists listening? Does anybody know these sorts of things? It's very difficult, isn't it, working out which bits are right and which bits are not, because I don't know. Hi, Alan. This person doesn't have a name. Hi, Alan, via text. A great show. I don't usually hear this, but I've got a German girlfriend, and I meet her often over there and here, and the Germans are very kind and considerate race. Keep up the good work. Thank you. There you go. And this one has got me absolutely flummoxed. Absolutely flummoxed. I mean, I'm accustomed to, I think the modern parlance says, off-the-wall remarks. Utterly unpredictable remarks. I am. I've come to expect them almost. And if I may say, in a quiet moment, enjoy them. But can anybody, anyone at all, explain how this came about? It's a text. It's from Nick in Oldham. And he says, Alan, I like beetroot as well. Don't look at me. I have nothing in my mind that will attach to. Alan, I like beetroot as well. He then shares with us the further information that he particularly likes it with meat and potato pie, which is nice to know. Yeah. I like beetroot as well. I'm just trying to think whether at any point in the last year we have ever discussed a liking or otherwise for beetroot. No, I can't think. I'll have a look through my book. I keep a note of things. Beetroot. You see, if I put these instead of filing them in a book, if I had them on a computer, I don't run the computer. I've got 3. I don't need any more. But a computer did it. I could then type in a search, couldn't I? Yeah. Very good. I could type in the search thing, beetroot, and it would tell me. But I don't think we've discussed beetroot this year. Frankly, even the year before. And I'll read this out because, well, I'll read it out. You'll see my reluctance. There's a report just in, says a text. There's a report just in that Al-Qaeda have hidden bombs in tins of alphabeti spaghetti. Police sources said if that goes off, it could spell disaster. Do you know that barrel that we sometimes scrape the bottom of? Well, we've just found a bloke looking underneath it. Clearly. Andy, I heard you say the other day that you like conspiracies. Barack Obama was known as Barry Soetoro when he lived in Indonesia as a child with his stepfather. He was registered at school with his religion as Islam and often went to the mosque and studied the Quran, which is why that is always questioned. And apparently there's a question about his citizenship, as he was registered as an Indonesian citizen, and whether he should have applied to be naturalised when he went back to live in the US. There are even lawsuits against him to produce his actual birth certificate, so says Andy. Well, a couple of things. First of all, in order to be President of the United States, you have to actually be born in the United States. No naturalised citizen can yet become president. They may change the law in the future, but presently no. I only learned that because of the actor who now, I use the term loosely, the actor who now runs California. You know what I mean. Him, yeah. Well, so he can't become president, which I'm sure is very upsetting to him. Anyway, so all I can say is that on the evidence that what's before us, Barack Obama must have been born on mainland USA. He must have been born in an American state. And yes, I believe he did live in Indonesia for a while. And I don't really care whether he at some point studied Islam. I kind of like the idea that he studied Islam or any other faith. If you're going to have a God, and he's got one, then it's as well that you look at all the different versions of it, all the different journeys, if you like. Oh, I see. Oh, very good. Thank you. The gag. It's come home at last. Lots of people have been sending emails, sending texts, and telephoning to say the reason the man did the joke about beetroot was because I said I liked beat groups. What are you doing listening to the radio when you're deaf, you barnpot? 161 228 2255. Oh, no, please. Look, this is not Eamon and Jimmy. I am neither of those people, and all three of us are glad of it. Andy in Runcorn says, alphabet spaghetti is bad for kids because it's full of E's. Dear God, has it come to this? Have we really got that low? Lord above. It's 20 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines. Mairead O'Kane.
The Home Secretary's confirmed workers at two airports, Manchester and London City, will be used to pilot the introduction of identity cards. Critics say it's a complete rollback from the government's original intention. Interest rates have been cut by 1.5%. That's the biggest since 1981. The Bank of England says it's made the move because the risk of higher inflation has fallen. A Manchester family is taking legal action after several doctors at two hospitals failed to realise their 70-year-old relative had broken his spine. He died weeks later. Manchester's weather mainly cloudy and dry with some drizzle, highs of 10 Celsius.
So the airport's going to have a pilot. That's good, isn't it?
BBC Radio Manchester 2020 traffic.
Well, very quiet afternoon out on the motorways. Not doing badly at all on the M60. Still a bit misty over the Pennines on the M62, especially around 22 Rishworth Moor through towards 23 at Huddersfield. All moving to time on public transport. Don't forget, though, if you can update me further, call in 01612 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. Manchester City take on Steve McLaren's FC20 in the UEFA Cup at Eastlands this evening. The sides only meet once in the group stage, and the former England manager has hinted that may mean a more attacking style than usual from his side.
I would take a draw, no problem. Away from home in Europe is a good result, as I've always said. It's a different approach. 2 legs, you have to be more tactical, strategic. One game, you have to go for it, and I think that's the advantage. What can happen over 2 games can only happen in 1 game.
Well, we've got full commentary from Eastlands this evening here on BBC Radio Manchester. That's in the all-new Manchester Sports from 7 o'clock. Elsewhere in the UEFA Cup this evening, Tottenham take on Dinamo Zagreb and Aston Villa are away to Slavia Prague. Former Arsenal keeper Bob Wilson has backed Arsene Wenger's comments following the defeat at Stoke, saying tackles on Emmanuel Adebayor and Theo Walcott were totally out of order and should have been punished with a red card. However, Wigan manager Steve Bruce has dismissed complaints about Stoke's physical style of play. The Latics entertained Toli Poulis' side on Saturday lunchtime, and Bruce says you can't be surprised with the type of game they play.
As far as I'm concerned, you know when you're going to play Stoke City, a physical game is what you're in for. Now, Tony Pulis has been like that over the years and been very successful at it, and he's getting his best out of the Premier League in his way. Some people might not like it or enjoy it, or seeing their players being kicked if they are. The one thing is, you'll have to stand up and be counted for it and try and adapt to it and try and beat them.
Portsmouth manager Tony Adams has offered former Arsenal teammate Dennis Bergkamp the chance to return to the Premier League by taking up a coaching job at Fratton Park. Bergkamp currently works with the youth team at Ajax. Richie Burns' spell at Oldham Athletic appears to have come to an end. The former Aberdeen defender has spent the last few months at Boundary Park, but now looks set to leave the club instead of being involved in Saturday's FA Cup tie at Cheltenham. The Latics also confirmed they tried to sign a striker on loan in time for this weekend's game, but the club concerned didn't want the player to be cup-tied. Rochdale boss Keith Hill says they may have to consider selling some of their players in order to balance the books. That's if they're knocked out of the FA Cup at Barnet on Saturday. Dale had to part with Glenn Murray due to last year's exit.
If we'd beaten Southend last season and progressed to at least the third round, I don't think we would have sold Glenn Murray. You know, it is important that we go to Barnet trying to win the fixture, because we do realise how important it can be to our financial resources, and which ultimately will dictate whether we can keep our squad together or not.
Lewis Hamilton has reacted to the claim from Bernie Ecclestone that the racism in Formula One has been blown out of all proportion. Hamilton was abused when pre-season testing in Spain and was on the receiving end of abuse when Spanish website before the Brazilian Grand Prix. But the world champion said, "I didn't see it as a joke. It's something that happened, but it's now in the past." In Rugby League, England have suffered a setback at the Rugby League World Cup. St Helens forward Maury Fasavalu, one of the only 4 props in the squad, will miss the rest of the tournament with a broken finger. England play New Zealand on Saturday morning, a week after Tony Smith's side received heavy criticism for a humiliating defeat to hosts Australia.
We don't bother with any of that. You know, it's about what we believe inside. We've been to some supporters functions in the last few days, and all the people that are out here supporting us are right behind us, and that's all that really matters. You know, the people who want to slag us off, that's fine. Everybody's got that prerogative. But we've lost 1 game in 8, so they've had a lot to cheer about, our fans, and for those who want to jump on that bandwagon, they're welcome.
Oldham prop Richard Merville has signed a new 1-year deal. Merville's decision to train as a firefighter has raised issues with the club, but they now appear to be resolved. And finally, in cricket, India are in a good position after the first day of the final test against Australia in Nagpur. The home side closed on 311 for 5, with Sachin Tendulkar making 109, his 40th test century. Lancashire's VVS Laxman hit 64.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
Well, Steve McLaren's FC20 visit Manchester City in the UEFA Cup group stages this evening. We've got full commentary from 7 o'clock.
BBC Radio Manchester.
It's all going jolly well. You were a bit slow then, Alan, says Nick from Oldham. I think I was, when related to the beat group and beat route thing. Yeah. Errol in Atherton. Hi, Errol.
Hi, Alan. You're on about remissions on petrol and diesels.
Emissions, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have no remissions on cooking fat oil. Don't give any fumes out.
You mean if you use it as a...
As a fuel.
As a fuel?
Yeah.
Well, it must do.
Well, it doesn't.
We could play this all day.
Yeah,
it must
I
do.
run on it, Alan.
Well, you may well run on it,
Yeah.
but
Now,
it must give some.
The wholesalers has doubled the pricing last year on it.
Mm.
And they also buy the old oil back, what they use.
Yeah.
And they send it away then for purifying.
Yeah, they get it filtered and all the rest of it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I buy it off them and I do exactly the same.
Well, but it must have some emissions. Now, whether the emissions are harmful is another story, but it must have some.
Well, I can put my mouth to my exhaust pipe and I couldn't put it to ordinary diesel.
Well, if you put your mouth to the exhaust of your vehicle, A, you'll burn your lips, and B, you'll suffocate. Whatever it pushes out, it won't be stuff you can breathe.
No, what I mean to say, not as bad as diesel fumes.
Well, we're moving on. We're making progress. Clearly, it is not as bad as diesel fumes. But you started by saying it didn't have any emission.
I mean, when I stop at traffic lights and there's anyone stood on the pavement, they're looking around for a fish and chip shop.
Exactly. And the way they know that there might be a fish and chip shop nearby is because your vehicle is emitting the smell of fish and chips.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it has emissions. How harmful they are to humans and the other environment, I don't know. It depends, I suppose, on whether they're a fossil fuel or not.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, like, the wholesalers have doubled the price of it and they're buying it back as well, so they're getting it 2 ways, aren't they?
Well, presumably when they're buying it back, if they've upped the price of selling it out, they presumably have upped the price of buying it back.
No, they gave £2 for 20 litres for it back.
Yes.
Then they sell it to the people who purify it.
Yes.
So that they're getting paid for selling it, they're buying it back, and then selling it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like waste not wanting, or isn't it?
It is exactly that, yes. But it will diminish in quantity each time. But that's another story.
I mean,
when you say they get it back, when you use it in your vehicle,
yes.
presumably you don't have any left.
No.
No. So they're not buying it back, are they? Because it's gone.
Well, they're not buying that back where I've got.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That
Well, they are buying it back off the restaurants and the chip shops.
Well, they're not.
And then they sell it on again.
So they sell it to the chip shop.
Yeah.
And then when the chip shop have used it, they take it back.
Yeah.
And then they send it for treatment, and those who treat it then sell it to someone else who sells it to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm aware of the journey.
Right.
But it would always be that they'd buy it back, to use your phrase, for less than they sell it.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Otherwise, they'll very quickly run out of money.
Well, they charge £21.99 for 20 litres. Now, when they buy it back, they give them £2 for it back. £2 for 20
But it's £2 that the
Then they sell
the
it
chip
to
the chip shop.
purifying place
Yeah.
for £3.
Well, they've got to live in the winter. But the chip shop place, it's in their interest to sell it, because otherwise they've got to pay someone to take it away and dump it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually economically sensible for them to sell their waste product rather than pay someone to dump it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, mine costed me £4 for 20 litres.
And where do you
So-
get it from? Because you can't get it at the local service station, can you?
No, you go to the restaurants and chip shops and
No, well, you
purifying.
don't. You don't, do you? You don't go round.
Yes.
You go to the chip shop.
Yeah.
So when you buy it off the chippy, the used stuff,
Yeah.
you buy used fuel from the chippy.
Yeah.
And how do you filter it?
I filter it through a filter.
Well, yeah. So you do actually filter it through a filter, remarkably,
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And is it worth the effort?
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
Well, it costed me £4 for 20 litres. Now, what
Yeah, you've
would
mentioned
it
that.
cost?
But-
Now,
but-
what would it cost me at the garage for 20 litres?
Well, the garage don't sell it.
No,
but
no,
what they
I
do
mean
sell,
to
yes.
say,
But
what
what
would
do
it
you
cost
do?
me in diesel? for
Yeah, what do you do with all the burnt chips?
The burnt chip, put them in the bin.
Right. Because you could put them on the compost, couldn't you?
Yeah, you could do.
So that would. And how the vehicle? How long does it take you to filter 4 gallon of that?
About an hour and a half.
You see, you have to be keen, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. But
So
you save bloody money, Alan.
Well, yeah, but you're working hard.
You're not working now, you just put it in the drum and let it go through the filters itself.
But you presumably got to lift these 4 gallon drums up and all that caper.
Well, you have a tube that just siphons
Oh, you
in.
just siphon it.
Yeah,
It all
into the
sounds
drum.
very energetic to me, but there you are, I'm bone idle. But good on you. And what's it like to use in the vehicle?
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, what miles per gallon do you get, for
You get
example?
a lot more mileage to the gallon, and like I said, it's not throwing all the fumes out and that, and it services your diesel pump and your injector because it's a oil going through them.
A hoil, right?
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, I'm very nearly converted to it, but not quite. Hey, good on you, Errol.
All right,
Cheers,
Alan.
mate. It's fascinating, isn't it? What you learn, mate.
So, Alan, an interesting formation. What do you think?
Well, I agree the basic shape's working fine. It's smooth down the flanks and pretty good up front, but the work at the back is unbelievably shoddy. Shocking.
I wouldn't laugh. You're having your haircut next.
Do something different and make a difference for BBC Children in Need. For your fundraising pack, go to bbc.co.uk/Pudsey.
It's all going awfully well. Undoubtedly, says Colin in Bolton, undoubtedly the Beatles were the best beat group. But would you agree that the Ollies were second best? No. No, they were pretty good. But they were a bit samey, weren't they? The Rolling Stones were the second best, possibly even the first best. there was a beat group in Liverpool called the D's that I liked. And I like the big three, but they paled into insignificance and disappeared somewhere. There was a record called Mersey Beat, and I had it. I've maybe still got it, but it's in the attic. And it had not all, but an awful lot of the old Liverpool beat groups that didn't make it. You know, the big three and all that lot. Yeah. Alan in Warrington, hiya.
Hiya. Yeah, about these diesel cars. What it is as well, it's they have less emissions, diesel cars, than the petrol ones. And the reason it's there, I remember years ago, because they do less miles to the gallon, or more miles to the gallon.
More miles to the gallon. Right, longer.
The government was losing out on tax because everybody started, when this petrol started going up, everybody started buying diesel cars, so the amount they was losing in tax to put diesel up. But I had a list of 203 cars. There was a magazine, I forgot, Parker's Guide, that had all, it used to print the CO2 emissions, and the equivalent petrol ones are like CRDs on Mondale. The petrol one's 192 CO2 emissions, and the diesel equivalent is 2 litre diesel is 156.
Yeah, I mean it is definitely the case that they have fewer of those kind of emissions, but they must be doing others.
Right. I don't know, and there's a Nissan Micra, 1400 petrol does 154 CO2 emissions. 1500 diesel Nissan Micra has no emission, CO2 emissions.
Well, no CO2, but as I say, all right, so there's no CO2 coming out, but there's other stuff coming out.
Yeah.
And how dangerous is that?
I don't know.
No, neither do I. That's what we were trying to find out.
They all started putting catalytic converters on there to get rid of them harmful emissions, to stop them coming through. All cars now have got catalytic converters on, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, yeah. I don't know what the Pope thinks of that, but there you are. All those Catholic converters, I suppose he's glad of them.
Plus the cheaper tax as well, the diesel cars now. If it's got less emissions than a petrol one, it's cheaper tax.
Well, yeah, but again, the only emission, you're saying it's got lower emission. Well, yes, it has, but it must emit something else. I wonder what that's like, because I was once told that the diesel engine, whilst it doesn't send out the same amount of CO2, it does send out what are known as particulates.
I think, it might have been years ago before they started, upgrading them, because they were smoky as hell, weren't they, diesel cars? You used to get behind them, you knew it, didn't you? Like,
well, you still do sometimes, but yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. All right, diesel versus petrol on the old CO2 jobby, then petrol wins. In 1987, says Steve in Chorlton, Nigel Lawson cut the duty on unleaded to encourage people to use it. It was supposed to guarantee a difference in price of 10p between 4-star diesel and unleaded. Assuming this is still the case, it might explain it. That's Steve in Chorlton. Lewis in Bolton. Hi, Lewis.
Hi, mate. You all right?
I'm very well.
Yes, a couple of questions I can answer for you. The diesel capacity of refining is less. That's why diesel's more expensive, because there's more diesel vehicles being used now, and they haven't uprated the diesel capacity for refining yet.
Oh, right. So I mean, we have that problem with petrol anyway, don't we, with oil in this country, but go on.
And with regards to veg oil, it doesn't emit any harmful substances at all. All it emits is carbon dioxide when it's burnt, and the amount it emits is equates to the same amount that an oilseed rape plant would use in its growth cycle, which in effect is hardly anything at all. It's virtually clean.
Because it's not a carbon product.
That's right, yeah. It's a carbon-neutral product, and the actual name for diesel is incorrect. I mean, it should be heavy oil, as you probably already know.
It should be oil, yeah.
Because the name diesel derives from, was it Rupert Diesel or Rudolph Diesel?
Rudolph.
Back in the beginning of the 20th century, who invented a prototype engine to run on peanut oil.
Fabulous. Yeah, it's the difference between the emissions you're talking about with hydrocarbon fuels and what you might call vegetable fuels is the same difference as between burning coal and burning wood. They're both the same. They both come from vegetation, but one, because of all sorts of historical reasons, has carbon impacted inside it, whereas the other one, you're only burning the carbon that is there now.
Well, more or less, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so it's the same
interesting
process.
conspiracy for you.
Oh, go on.
Rudolf Diesel came over to England. I think it was either in the Second World War or the First World War to discuss with the British Navy converting its petrol or its steam-powered naval fleet into his diesel prototype.
Yeah.
He ended up drinking the Channel, didn't he?
He didn't make it then.
Apparently not.
Well, never mind. The music's good down there because you've got all that Glenn Miller, haven't you? Have a good day.
Cheers.
Him and Rudolph, they're at it like knives every night, dancing with the octopuses. And Ringo Starr, of course, because he likes to dance in an octopus's garden. I have no idea. Please don't expect any of it to make sense. It was pretty quick though, wasn't it? I mean, no, it wasn't funny and someone will get offended, but hey, it's very, very difficult to be funny and not offend someone. You ask that Jonathan Ross, he knows. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. I'm probably going to the opera tonight, except it's not opera, but it is, because it's Opera North, but it's not opera. I've no idea. I'll tell you tomorrow. Ta-ra now.
Join the Coffee Club for a caffeinated look at the morning's papers.